Applications of Henry's law. To increase the solubility of carbon dioxide in soft drinks and soda water, the bottle is sealed under high pressure. When the pressure is increased, more amount of carbon dioxide gets dissolved in water. Scuba divers or deep sea divers, as they go deep down the sea, pressure increases, as a result of which more amount of oxygen and nitrogen gets dissolved in blood. But as the scuba diver comes up to the surface, pressure decreases. It leads to the formation of nitrogen bubbles in the blood. This blocks the capillaries and causes pain known as bends. To avoid bends, air is diluted with helium. People living at high altitudes will be having low concentration of oxygen in the blood. It is because the partial pressure of oxygen is less at high altitudes. Low blood oxygen causes climbers to become weak and unable to think clearly. The condition is known as anoxia. Let us now consider the effect of temperature on the solubility of a gas in a liquid. The dissolution of a gas in a liquid is considered to be an exothermic process because it is similar to condensation. Therefore, when the temperature is increased, the solubility of a gas in a liquid decreases since dissolution is exothermic. Raoult's law. Consider a binary solution. Let the solute and the solvent present be two volatile liquids. So both liquids evaporate and will contribute to the vapor pressure. Let the two components present in the solution be taken as 1 and 2, and both the components are volatile liquids. Therefore, Raoult's law states that for a solution of two volatile liquids, the partial vapor pressure of each component in the solution is directly proportional to its mole fraction. Thus, for component 1, we can write P1 is directly proportional to chi1, or P1 is equal to P1 naught chi1. Here, P1 naught is the vapor pressure of the pure component 1. P1 is the vapor pressure of the component 1 in solution. Similarly, for the component 2, P2 is directly proportional to chi2, or P2 is equal to P2 naught chi2. Here, P2 naught is the vapor pressure of the pure component 2 and P2 is the vapor pressure of the component 2 in solution. Pressure exerted by the component 1 in solution is P1 and the pressure exerted by the component 2 in solution is P2. So how can we get the total pressure of the solution? That is by applying Dalton's law. We know that the total pressure of the solution is given as the sum of the partial pressures of the two components of the solution. Thus, P total is equal to P1 plus P2. But P1 is equal to P1 naught chi1 and P2 is equal to P2 naught chi2. So, substitute for P1 and P2. We get P total is equal to chi1 P1 naught plus chi2 P2 naught. Now, express chi1 in terms of chi2. Since there are only two components, chi1 will be equal to 1 minus chi2. So, we get P total is equal to 1 minus chi2 into P1 naught plus chi2 into P2 naught. Bring the similar terms together. Thus, we get P total is equal to P1 naught plus P2 naught minus P1 naught into chi2. So, this is the final form. We can draw a graph taking mole fraction along the x-axis and vapor pressure along the y-axis. Only two components, say 1 and 2, are present in the solution. In the beginning, component 1 alone is present. Therefore, chi1 is equal to 1. Since the component 2 is not present in the beginning, chi2 is equal to 0. What is the vapor pressure of the pure component 1? it is denoted as P1 naught. Therefore, P1 naught denotes the vapor pressure of the pure component 1. Usually, 1 denotes the solvent and 2 denotes the solute, or A denotes the solvent and B denotes the solute. When the component 2 is added more and more, the vapor pressure of the component 1 will vary along P1. Similarly, when the component 2 alone is present, chi 2 will be equal to 1 and chi 1 will be equal to 0. Here P2 naught represents the vapor pressure of the pure component 2. The variation in the vapor pressure of the component 2 is shown along P2. Now what is P total equal to? P1 plus P2. Consider the components 1 and 2. From the graph, it is clear that P1 naught is less than P2 naught. The vapor pressure of the pure component 1 is less than the vapor pressure of the pure component 2. Since the vapor pressure of the first component is comparatively lower, its boiling point will be higher. It means component 1 is less volatile compared to component 2. Instead of 1 and 2, let the two components in solution be represented as A and B. Then we get P total is equal to P naught A plus P naught B minus P naught A into chi B. Now what conclusions can be drawn from the equation? The total vapor pressure can be related to the mole fraction of any one component. Here, the total vapor pressure of the solution is related to the mole fraction of component B. The equation P is equal to P naught B minus P naught A into chi B plus P naught A is of the form Y is equal to mx plus C. Therefore, if a graph is plotted taking mole fraction along the x-axis and vapor pressure along the y-axis, a straight line graph will be obtained and the slope will be equal to P naught B minus P naught A. It means total vapor pressure over the solution varies linearly with the mole fraction of the component 2 or mole fraction of the component B. In this graph, the vapor pressure of pure component A is greater than the vapor pressure of pure component B. So which component is less volatile? Since the vapor pressure of B is less, it is less volatile. So B is less volatile than A. We can take either component A as less volatile or component B as less volatile. So there are two cases. So depending upon the vapor pressures of the pure components 1 and 2, total vapor pressure of the solution decreases or increases with the increase of mole fraction of the component. In this case, total vapor pressure decreases because B is less volatile than A. And here the total vapor pressure of the solution increases since the component 1 is less volatile than component 2.